First of all, let me just say congratulations to you, man, on these two projects you got going on right now, man. I'm sure you know in the acting industry that having two projects on air at the same time is a rarity.
Yeah, man, Troy, thank you first and foremost for having me. But yeah, two projects at the same time, you never plan for this stuff, you know what I mean? And very fortunate to be a part of two great and diverse shows.
One of the first shows I want to talk about is How to Die Alone. It's got a fantastic cast, but can you tell our readers a little bit about the plot of the series and your character?
Oh, starring, written, led by the great Natasha Rothwell. What can we say about this, man? It's about Mel, who works at the airport, who happens to be afraid of flying, and a near-death experience, kind of gets her gears going, and she decides to start living life. And I play Sean, one part of the Tarmac Boys. Terrence is another boy, and Deshaun as well is a part of the Tarmac crew. And we just a part of the life. We live as assisting Mel on the journey, and we're just trying to be, workers ourselves, you know what I mean? Like just make sure we don't lose any baggage, you know what I mean? Because last thing we want to do is let Terrence down.
You mentioned the show is created by Natasha. Can you talk about what it was like working with her and how collaborative she was working on set?
Oh, she's amazing. First and foremost, I don't think I knew what kind of beast Natasha was, in the work sense of like, man, is she like radiant? Like she is brilliance. Every time that even when I met her for the first time, we met her at the hotel, and she just kind of like glided over. You know, like how the auras that are kind of like in that space, and like people are always like, "Man, I don't even know." Prince just glided in the room and stole my girl, and you're like, "Man, you'd be like, he glided." You'd be like, "Yeah, man, he glided," and you'd be like, "Now." When you see Natasha, when I met Natasha, I understand that. Like she, wears so many capes in this project. You know what I mean? Not to just write it, but executive produce. Then obviously, you kind of probably directing as well. You know what I mean? Micro directing everyone on scene as well, because you just kind of like have a vision, and she had a vision, and we're so lucky to be a part of it.
It's interesting. The airport, I was like, this is just such an interesting place to have a show like this. I mean, millions of us obviously have been to the airport and we know somewhat what goes on there, but we don't know the behind the scenes stuff. And I think that's an interesting place to have a show like this. Don't you agree?
Oh, definitely. And you know what? I hopefully can get some free upgrades next time, Sean and Deshaun are traveling to Vegas. Hopefully we can get some free upgrades, you know what I mean? Because we're putting on, but no, again, I think it's just the vision, you know what I mean? When you have an opportunity like Natasha did to create something that is of this magnitude, and besides the laughs, the heart of the story, and like just, her being so vulnerable and letting us into her, um, her baby,
Yeah.
So I'm just happy I booked it, man, because as an actor, this is just another audition. And when I saw the script, the comedy came really easy, obviously like the great writing does. And like I had no idea she had written for like Saturday Night Live and like
Yeah. Yeah.
Insecure and these great shows. But like, once you get the rhythm of the paper, it just slaps.
I'm curious for a show like this, and one we'll talk about later on, Chicken Sisters. Is there a lot of improv, or is it one of these things where you guys stick to the script first and then they let you guys play with some shots later on, or do you just stick to the script?
I was fortunate enough to be best friends with CP, comedian CP Powell, and he happens to be on the writing and producing side of things. So he obviously is a gifted improv specialist, and like he kind of just told me he was like, "Hey man, just follow the lead." And like any actor, you know what I mean? We found the balance pretty quick, you know, even when we hung out off set, it was really, you know, natural. It was very organic. You know, we kind of just hit it off. Um, but I never think, Troy, that I do comedy. You know what I mean? Like I kind of just like live life, and this is just kind of the way that, you know, I just see the page. You know what I mean? And like I happen to be in comedies, you know, but like even when CP asked me, he's like, "How long you been doing comedy?" And I was like, "Shit, bro, I didn't even know I did comedy." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. So,
Yeah.
so hanging with the cast off set like helped you guys organically, like be smooth with each other on screen. I think Jocko's in the show.
Oh, Jocko Sims, big dog,
He's
man.
so cool, man. I've interviewed him a couple of times. He's very cool.
Oh, he is an amazing big bro. Like he kind of really took me under the wing. So like I happen to have the same manager and publicist as him. You know what I mean? And you know, I kind of, you know, had to go ask Big Bro's permission. You know what I mean? It just kind of like the right thing to do. But it was just great to see how he rolls. He had a couple of cookouts. He invited the whole cast over. His mom was over from Texas and
Oh
stuff. So
wow.
you know what I mean? Like it was, I think it was Memorial Day or something big. And like for me, that was my first official cookout. You know what I mean?
You got invited to the cookout.
You know what I mean? And like Precious was there, and I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? Like you know, Keelan Darrell Jones is another actor on this great set. Um, Melissa Boom Boom Dupree, Jay Lee Hamidi. Um, I'm gonna forget so many people, but like Conrad Ricamora, you know what I mean? Like just studs. And to watch them all be professionals. Um, Ella Lorraine, you know what I mean? Zara Bentham, like just the cast just keeps going and going. And obviously the legends that I don't know their names, you know. But like again, just to see the chemistry, bro. Like, you know, sometimes somebody had it, you gotta, you know, give up the pass. It's just like playing basketball. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Some days you got the jumper, you know, it's they're gonna pass you the ball, hit the jumper, you know. Some days you gotta rebound the ball, or some days you gotta ride the bench.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're also appearing in the Hallmark series, Chicken Sisters. And I gotta tell you, man, I can't lie, dude. I watch a lot of Hallmark. I'm not gonna lie. I watch a lot of Hallmark, dude. They have some really good movies and series.
Hey,
Can you
you
talk a
know
little bit
what?
about this series, Chicken Sisters?
Chicken Sisters, written by Annie Mabane, and actually written by KJ, the author. I can't remember her last name, but KJ. Amazing story. It's about two families that are from the South, and they happen to have competitive fried chicken companies or restaurants. And I happen to play a character named Gordo, who we come into town and settle a clash once and for all with a TV show called Kitchen Clash. And I get to play, you know, a loving character. Great cast on there as well. The great Wendy Malick, Leah Thompson, Skylar Fisk, Genevieve Engelson, just legends, you know, in the game that you get to again watch and observe and just be a student of. You know, I pay me to be a student on set any day. You know what I mean?
And that was actually my next question. With people like Leah Thompson and Wendy Malick on set, do you get a chance between takes to like talk to these guys and just talk to them about the business, or you try not to bother them and just just do your thing?
Well, personally, I just like let the character be the character, you know what I mean? Offset as well, because I know, you know, each character, each actor has their own flow. And I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but like, you know, they're very personable. You know, I have a couple of scenes that are going to be definitely going on my demo reel with Leah Thompson, you know what I mean? Just to put that down, you know, and grow up watching her and to now have put something on the reel with her, you know. It was like the time when I did something with Clive Owen for the first time. I was like losing my mind. I'm like, yo, this is Inside Man right now. You know what I mean?
The
Like,
guy's so underrated as an actor, man. He's so good.
bro, even as a human, he was just so dope. You know what I mean? And like, I was really green at that time, and like, booked it, and I was like, yo, man, somebody thinks it's worth their time to pay me to be on screen with Clive Owen. I got to smarten up. You know what I mean? And just become a better student of this. And fortunately, here we are, 10 years into the game and two projects at the same time.
I hope this question kind of makes sense because I grew up with all women in my house. It was me, my three sisters, and my mom, and there was like just this different energy I had around me when I grew up. With a primarily female cast on this show, did you have feel a different energy working with them, say, as opposed to an all male cast?
You know what's funny? I grew up the opposite of you, Troy. I grew up in an all boy household. So it's me and four brothers, and my mom and dad. And my mom had a lot of, masculine energy as well. So it was just like we were all just the boys kicking it. And I think when you come to now realize when great energies come together, especially with the history of how much this cast has done collectively,
Yeah.
just to watch them be respectful and let everybody shine, I think is the big part of it because in the acting world, it's really tough out there, and I hear it on set all the time, but like for me, it's the opposite. I've never been hotter, you know what I mean? So like it's the realms. You just got to be grateful, show up every day, be a great teammate, man. You know what I mean? Hit your marks and keep it moving because like productions cost money and you got to be a professional with it.
When preparing for this interview, I read that you recently added the producer title on your resume. Become a producer, and I'm wondering if people working with people like Natasha inspire you even more to go down that path and add that to your resume.
Oh, definitely, man. And but it also shows you how you can't come at it half-assed. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right.
it's like um going to school with it, being a student of it and building it, and earning it. So like I think that's one thing that I never wanted to cheat the process. I happen to be a Punjabi of culture, you know what I mean? But I'm an actor first that happens to be Punjabi, not a Punjabi actor. You know what
Right,
I mean? That's
right.
the way I kind of carry that through the career as well. So like, I always get the occasional, DJ Khaled, you know, comment where people are, just trying to be funny. Even on set, there was a lead that I was working with. I'm not mentioning any names, Joe Coy, but yo, I'm telling you, I was on set for 2 weeks. Guy just kept calling me, DJ Khaled, and like I don't think he mentioned my name once, but it's just humbling to be like, yo, man, you gotta suck it up and play your position, you know, gain the knowledge and keep it moving. Make sure you're a better teammate, moving forward.
I think one of your first projects you're going to be working on is a film called The Book. Is that correct?
Yes, the
Can
book.
you
It's
talk a little bit about that?
yeah, it's a great story, man. About so my parents, my dad comes from an Ayurvedic background. So Ayurvedic medicine is pretty much like the science of life. So it's been practiced for thousands of years in India, and it's just all natural remedies, pretty much like traditional Chinese medicine, but with Indian herbs.
Hmm.
And when I was doing my first Punjabi film, it was chaotic on there. And I was like, yo, man, if these fools like are this chaotic and unorganized, and like I was literally on set for like 14 days of like a nuisance to the budget. And literally I had maybe three scenes. You know what I mean? And I'm just like sitting there getting paid, but I'm just like, yo, this is ridiculous. If these guys end up making money, which they did, I was like, I'm gonna call up a couple of friends of mine. And Brandon J. McLaren being one of them, who was from the hood as well. He's from Fleetwood. Well, he's from Enver Creek, but yeah, Brookside. So like he was a hood boy. So like he was doing his own thing, and I was like, hey, bro, like I think we have something here if you want to like produce something. So I took a flight to Toronto. We sat down and we came up with the story. So it's pretty much about a girl named Simran who, leaves Punjab in 1984 and lands in New York in 1999, and she's practicing medicine. And she stumbles across a book that she, escaped with in 84 with the book of all the remedies, to cure all the illnesses. And she has to now come to decide which is right and which is wrong. So that journey of the book, we actually went on a 1 month trip to India. Me, Brandon J. McLaren, and Heinz is another brother of mine. Hindsight. I don't know if you've probably seen him on Instagram. He's pretty big. But we went and traveled India and we walked the steps. We made sure that we didn't take any shortcuts in the journey. So, on the producing side of things, it's again like we just didn't want to sit in a room and talk about a journey that we didn't walk,
Right.
So
Right.
like being, first and foremost privileged enough to be able to afford to do that, I think comes into the producing side of, just being a student. Again, it's the first project. I don't want to take no shortcuts. It's been about 4 years of this baby. But, again, during a pandemic, like it's just all learning curves. So I'm really, really looking forward to everybody seeing that eventually, for sure.
I'm curious. I want to ask you something. I've talked to a bunch of actors over the years, and how can I put this? There are some actors who feel, if I want to be an actor, I've got to throw all my eggs in one basket. That's it. It's acting or nothing. And then there are some actors who are like, yeah, I definitely want to be an actor, but I want to have a plan B over here just in case it doesn't work out. And I've had some people who say, throwing everything in one basket is the way to go. But if you have a plan B, you're already setting yourself up for failure. Is what I'm saying makes sense? And how do you feel about that?
Again, man, I played sports growing up, like I told you before, and I got a pivot foot, and I know how to use both feet. And especially in this economic time, you just got to be thinking, all angles.
Yeah,
And, to diversify the portfolio is one thing for sure as a student, I think people like to limit themselves and not give themselves the power. And one thing I love to see is the power in people. Like I will give the flowers before they're even blooming. You know what I mean? Because I see them blooming.
absolutely. I'm curious, what would you say to someone who comes up to you and says, "Hey, man, I'm interested in getting into acting. What advice would you give me?" I know that's kind of a big question, but what advice, since you've been in the game for a little bit already, what advice would you give them?
The same advice I give everybody, man. Like, get your foot in the door, take some headshots, reach out to a talent agency, start off with doing background and commercials, take some classes, study the art, be about it. you know, don't fake it because when you fake it, you'll smell the funk.
You mentioned Clive Owens being like an inspiration to you. Are there other actors that inspire you and you're like, man, I wish I could work with that guy one day or film
Oh,
it one day?
definitely, man. And you know what? They're in the inner circle. Like, Jesse T. Usher happens to be a really good brother of mine. Brandon J. McLaren, obviously Natasha Rothwell, now that, she happens to be my boss. Um, but no, Clive Owen, Seth Rogen, definitely. So the first thing that I did to get into acting was I was sitting at home. I was 28, unemployed, and back then Facebook was popping, and everybody was on Facebook. Just the homies. And I think there was like a vitamin water contest, and you got to be in a vitamin water commercial with Steve Nash. And I was like, man, I ain't got shit to do. You know what I mean? So I called up my homie Sonny, whose dad had like a Indian wedding company, AAA Films. Shout out to Sonny. Sonny, I just plugged you, bro. Um, but like it was a legendary company, but I knew he was bored of like doing Indian weddings. So I was just like, hey man, like you want to do this commercial? And I was like, I got this kind of like vision for it. It's going to be nice and quick, you know, three different little locations. We'll tie it in really nice and easy. And he's like, all right, let's do it. And we ended up submitting it and winning. So like Steve Nash being a local representation and like knowing that he was a two-time MVP, you know what I mean? I got to go to Phoenix and shoot the commercial, got to watch Phoenix versus LA. So I saw Kobe versus Steve Nash, you know, Amari Stoudemire, like, you know, just legends play the game. So I think I was just kind of like gracefully just like around greats. You know what I mean? Seth Rogen being another one in Vancouver. I was like, man, I was mesmerized by someone that wasn't supposed to be a lead. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
traditionally, and you know, him being able to get on Freaks and Geeks and then, you know, slip in a writer's credit so quickly and so like effortlessly. I was like, bro, this guy's good with his right hand and his left hand. You know what I mean? Like you can't stop it. So I think there's definitely like Zach Galifianakis, you know, Jonah Hill. So the guys that were funny that, you know, traditionally you wouldn't, you know, see them being leads on cameras, you know what I mean? I think I was definitely influenced by them.
And finally, are there any projects you have coming up, or what are you working on besides the book right now?
Man, I told you I'm unemployed. It's Friday, bro. I need some more Americano. You know what I mean? I need a little espresso going. Um, but no, I'm grateful to be, you know, again watching two shows be live on the air right now at the same time. How to Die Alone just got dropped its finale, so the last two episodes today. So make sure everybody go tune in and support a great project. And Chicken Sisters too. I haven't watched it yet personally because I can't get it in Canada, but How to Die Alone, I made it happen.